All right. So we're back. Shift 30 for 30. A journal. 4 days out now. I don't know what I'm going to talk about right now. And to be honest, I feel a little less inclined to record one of these than I have in all my past videos. And, there's a variety of reasons for that. I've been on Twitter all morning, and Twitter just really gives you that brain drain, can suck the energy out of you, even if you're talking with people that you like, having conversations that you're interested in. That's not a new idea at all, right? Just fucking sucks your brain. Um, so I'm not feeling tip top. I'm not feeling super energized right now. I'm going to put a timer on because I don't really feel like going for a long time. So I just want to monitor how long this is going to go for. Yeah, so, I was talking to some of you both before and after this weekend when we did our free writing party about speaking off the cuff as I've been doing in my videos, sharing some of the things that have helped me and answering some questions about how I do it or how I approach it and how I think about it. And I feel like today is an especially good day to record a video because today is one of those days where I don't honestly feel like recording. Some of the days that I go into this, I have something sort of in mind, maybe in the morning prior to recording on previous days, that at least something has occurred to me to explore. But today, not really. And it's sort of I feel vulnerable about that. I feel vulnerable about recording a video and not knowing that I probably have something that I want to talk about. I feel vulnerable and embarrassed about this idea, this possibility, this current situation of like, well, fuck, what am I even doing this for, right? Like, yeah, I, I would love, or part of me would love to put on this image that it's always easy for me to talk off the cuff and that I always have something to talk about, but that's not true. Definitely not true. I some days don't feel like talking at all. Right now, I talked about in some of the resources that I shared with Shift 30 participants, I talked about how it's really helpful in doing some of this emotional processing, focusing kind of work to pay attention to how your voice feels, how it feels in your body as you're speaking, how it sounds, how much effort it feels is required to say anything, and what volume feels most natural. Because all those things can tell you a lot about how you're feeling. They are an expression of how you're feeling. And right now, in the past few days, maybe the past week even, I've been noticing my voice starting to feel more deep and resonant in general. But like right now, it feels effortful to talk. Some days it feels like it just is gonna spill out of me, and I get into these veins where it's just like flowing, and it would take more effort to stop sometimes than to keep going. Um, Today it feels the opposite. It feels much more like my voice is heavy in if you, I don't know, I'm picturing like my voice inside of me, like in my belly, in my chest, and it's like there's an anchor on it, and it's just anchored inside of my torso, and it takes a lot of effort to draw it out and express it right now. So yeah, I feel kind of heavy. My body just naturally feels and is posturally slumped. These breaths that I'm taking feel very labored. That's not quite right. But you hear, I think you can hear it, right? This, right? It takes work to take the breath in, and then it's a very effortful, heavy expression, exhalation of breath. I feel tension in the arches of my feet right now. I was doing a somatic meditation this morning after I woke up, and I could feel all throughout it that I was holding my face in tension in very subtle ways, like noticing that my mouth and my lips and my cheeks were just subtly tense, subtly like puckered. I don't know how obvious it would have been to anyone else, but I could feel it, that I was holding tension there. So that's how this day began. So I guess today is really about just admitting that, I don't always feel like talking. And this is a day where, and a moment at least in my day, where there's a thing that you know, I, I'm wanting to record these. I didn't record them over the weekend because I was hanging out with friends and doing other things, and I didn't have a chance or really the inclination to sit down and record this. Like, I have a life outside of this. I don't want to be always on Twitter. I'm not always on Twitter. Um, Although I mean, even that's false. Like, I was on Twitter over the weekend. I just never had a moment where I had the space or inclination to sit down and record this kind of thing. So I said, screw it. I'm taking the weekend off. Because we need a rest. I need a rest. And that's going to be an interesting thing that I'll have to see how it goes once we're in shift 30. The conversation I've been having with you guys in our group chat today is like, what time is going to be best for the daily calls. And I'm suggesting that maybe, since there are people spread across a lot of different time zones, and I want to at least be accessible for everybody, that maybe I'll have multiple call slots every day. And I do mean that, and I do want to do that, but at the same time I say it, I'm like, I might just exhaust myself trying to do that. Is it a good idea? I don't know. And so we'll have to see. We'll have to see. But yeah, I don't know how this is gonna go. I don't know what it's gonna be like. I've talked about it in other of these videos, these recordings that um, this is why I'm not always the biggest fan of being really vulnerable and really transparent online. Online and in real life, because it can leave you more vulnerable than you're really prepared for. And so the anonymity and these walls that we put up, these boundaries that we put up, these masks that we put on, right? The anonymity that we use in whatever way that is a form of giving ourselves safety, right? And so I was retweeting this stuff today from Rebecca Madison and what's her actual name? Ava. And then also Theo. The power and the importance of safety, and how safety allows you to take risks and to do things that would seem risky, but then they don't feel risky when you have that safety net under you, whether that means a social safety net and a network of people who are supportive of you, or whether that means just a deep sense of safety in your body, a safe sense of safety in your own knowledge or belief in yourself that you can handle what comes, right? Like, one area where I've been getting more and more safe over the years is the ability to know that if I get stressed out, I can handle that. I know how to resource. I know how to rest. And I know that I need to, and I know when. Usually, not always. Sometimes I don't listen, but I know that I know to rest, and I know how to rest. And just knowing that can really actually do wonders for your sense of safety, to know that, what, if I'm tired and I need a break, I'm going to take one, and I know how to do that. That can give you a sense of deep safety in yourself, right? But yeah, so the anonymity, the lack of vulnerability are ways to keep ourselves safe. And sometimes we need to keep ourselves safe. It's not necessarily a virtue to just put yourself out in the public on display all the time. It doesn't do you good to make yourself vulnerable to that extent. If you feel safe doing that, go for it. And sometimes I do, and I do it. But when I don't, no, I'm not gonna. And so it is that what I was saying before is it's gonna be interesting to see how it plays out with Shift 30, because whether or not I share a lot of vulnerable things through in the calls for Shift 30, as I'm sure I will end up doing, because I mean, even just going off this weekend in the free writing workshop, I feel very safe around this group of people, which is wonderful. But I still am making myself vulnerable, and that has consequences. And for example, I put together the resources over the weekend, and part of what's in the resources is I recorded myself doing a full session of like emotional processing, sort of demon hugging, shadow integration sort of thing. I just recorded myself doing that. And while I felt great about it, and I posted on Twitter afterwards that I felt alive, which was very true, at the same time, now I've shared that with everybody, and it's like, damn, like, I'm feeling very vulnerable. I'm feeling very exposed through that, And so that is what it is, and so I'm gonna need to take care of myself around that. So to have this month coming up where I'm gonna be on calls with all of you for basically 30 days in a row, doing this emotional work in public to a certain extent, making these videos. I'm really putting myself out there, and I don't know what's going to happen. It might take a lot out of me. It undoubtedly will. I mean, as I've expressed right now, I feel like the past few days have taken a lot out of me, and I've been happy to give it. I've been happy to put myself out there. It's exciting, it's fun. It's so incredible to connect with everyone so far. Like, I don't regret it. But the consequence has been feeling vulnerable, feeling exposed, feeling like I need way more rest. Feeling like I don't really want to talk that much. And yet, so there's that dance. It's like, okay, well, I don't really feel like it, but at the same time, I've put this thing together, and you have paid me for this, right? This is what I've promised that is gonna happen. So it's my responsibility now to show up for that. So that's gonna be an interesting thing. And I don't know how it's gonna go, and I'll have to pay real close attention to how I'm handling it, and I'm gonna try to be as transparent as I can with how I'm handling it, because I think that's a fascinating side of the story, really. I don't know that, in all my years of working with people who make online courses and do this sort of thing, I've never really seen people talk about the personal demands of that, of showing up day after day after day, supporting other people, teaching, putting yourself out there vulnerably. It's obviously what happens for everybody, but it's not something that gets talked about too much. And this is, again, I have to be careful. I don't want to be too vulnerable around or transparent around that either. But at the same time, I do want to share this experience. So I don't know. We'll have to see. It's like I've talked about that 21 days of sensitivity series I wrote a couple years ago, right? Which is my experience of doing an extended writing challenge, and the fact that I pushed myself so hard to do that and made myself so much more vulnerable than I was really ready to do. It was not sustainable. I succeeded in as much as I did all 21 days, and I wrote some good stuff, but I was so drained and so exposed afterwards. I didn't want to write for so long, and I don't want that to happen with this, with Shift 30. I don't want to run Shift 30 and then just be so utterly taxed and exposed, feeling that I just don't want to have anything to do with any of you and don't want to be on Twitter for a year. That's not helpful. So again, we'll have to see. So that's that. I'm gonna end it there. Keep it on the shorter side for today, and move on. I think maybe I'll lay down for a bit. I gotta rest. And if you need a rest, take a rest. I suggest that for everyone, as we do these calls. If you're feeling tired, rest. I've been talking to Sam about this a lot, and that's one of the things I love about him talking about gardening so much. is that it's such a great metaphor, but it's so much more than a metaphor, because in a garden, if you actually keep a garden and spend time with a garden, you see that life needs to rest. Plants go to sleep at night. They're not just standing at full attention, reaching toward the sun 24/7. Flowers close, they droop. And then when the sun comes out in the morning, they rise up again, but they rest. So seasonality is not just a metaphor. And yet, there is this tendency among people, I don't know, whatever, working people in general, especially people who are very online, because there's no seasons on the internet. I mean, not in the sense that what I mean by seasonality. It's so easy to be like, oh, that's a cool metaphor, seasonality, like life in seasons, and have a winter time when you hibernate, and summertime, blah, blah, blah. But if you don't really like grasp how real of a thing that is, you might still try to demand constant growth and constant effort out of yourself. And this I tweeted some time ago now, don't industrial agriculture yourself, because that's what that is. And I talked to Sam about it a little bit. It's like, even the soil needs time to rest. You can extract all the nutrients from the soil if you just monocrop it season after season after season. Then the field itself becomes worthless. You can't grow things there now. Soil also needs to be taken care of, let alone the plants that grow out of it. So there's a seasonality even in the soil, let alone the plants and the nature and the life that grows out of the soil. And so, yeah, don't industrial agriculture yourself. And I'm saying that to me as well. Like, I'm in a position now where it's going to be very easy to have an inclination to do that to myself. I'm just like needing to be always productive, needing to be always on. And that's not really, it's not sustainable. And it's not how I want to live. So anyway, I guess that's how I'll wrap it up, kind of with a reminder to myself, like, remember that seasonality is real and not just a metaphor. Okay.